the way that I have evolved into doing it is to get the people to start practicing right in front of me, right there on the
Mm,
call. When they say,
I
"Oh,
agree.
it's hard" or "I can't do it," we say, "Well, right now, start having thoughts of." I can do it. Everything really is okay right now. The reality is everything is okay right now. And we can do that, I think, on
Mm,
videos and as possible. In fact,
mm,
I see you and Santiago and Ivan, and that proves to me that it does work. We got three examples of it working right here.
Yep. Absolutely.
mhm.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
But I've also got evidence and proof enough that it doesn't work with some because they want to play games. And I see two games that I remember from Eric Byrne, and I see at least two games are being played even in the videos that we do. And that the one game that we were mentioning about Lemon Drop is that game of Yes But. Everything you say, his answer is going to be, "Yes, I have tried that, but it doesn't work."
Mm, mm,
And the other game that I have seen being played is, um, "I don't understand. I want more clarity. I have questions,"
Yeah, that's a good one.
as opposed to, you're not going to get the answers to all your questions. The
Yep.
better thing to do is just to be happy and
Yes.
stop asking questions.
mm.
So anyway,
Yeah,
Santiago, hello.
Hello, Ivan. Hello.
Hello.
Santiago.
Good to
Just
see you, friend.
yeah, I'm just walking the street in the
Nice.
middle of the night. That's all I'm doing.
Nice.
So Ivan, all of this got started because you wanted to call to have, I guess, a Dhamma question. Do you have a Dhamma question?
Yes, yes. A quick one actually. So recently, this past few days, I got thinking about how nice awareness is. This sati, like just seeing what's happening. I really got me thinking about the middle way, like how neither suppressing or you know I don't know wanting things or whatever, just sort of extreme and just stay in the middle. That like this is okay. It really brings a lot of peace. And yeah, I was just thinking about awareness, and sometimes I basically the question is, what makes Buddhism, or rather the Buddha teaching, the Buddha Dharma, different with other, I don't know, religion or teaching? Like maybe Hinduism is a good one. Like, it doesn't Hinduism also teach awareness, mindfulness? What makes this so different?
No.
Yeah.
If Hinduism does, they stole it from Buddhism, just like psychotherapy has stolen many of the teachings of the Buddha. They picked it
Mm.
up. All
Yeah,
right.
I agree.
In fact, Hinduism, I've seen them pick up stuff from over the centuries. An example of that
Mm.
was that though the Hindus had the original ideas coming from, let us say, Brahma and
Mm.
Vishnu and Shiva,
Mm.
those were actually different religions at one time, but they got brought in together into Hinduism in India so that now they have the Brahma, the Shiva, in the sense of the creator, the maintainer, and the destroyer.
Mm.
All right.
Mm.
But when Islam came along, and then also when Christianity came along, they invented in Hinduism a god. God did not exist until Hindu picked up Islam and picked up Christianity. That many of the things that you find in Hinduism, they borrowed. In fact, it's borrowed from everything. That we trace all the way back to the roots. The roots of it was Brahmanism. But now Hinduism has everything. Anything that is India, anything that has ever been to India is now part of Hinduism. But even Buddhism, they tried to steal Buddhism and bring the whole thing in. They talk about the Buddha being the 24th Tirthankara and other things like that. All right. So, yes, Hinduism will add up everything. Whatever Hinduism finds, whatever any Indian hears, it becomes part of Hinduism.
Yeah. So yeah, that makes
That's an
sense.
easy
I
question
guess
right there for you.
yeah. I guess it's also like I have that um I mean this appreciation for the simplicity of that teaching, but at the same time maybe it's just an intellectual question. It's like how did no one figure it out? I mean maybe the closest I could think of is Taoism. Like they're all about that balance, like yeah, I'm not sure. It's just
Well, I I have seen evidence, and it seems quite logical that Taoism was, let us say, the very first version of Buddhism getting into China. The Taoism dates from the time of the Buddha. Lao Tzu
uh
uh, and later Chiang Tzu were both heavily influenced by Buddhism.
mm, yeah. That makes sense. Hmm.
Now, the next question that you ask is actually possibly the most important thing that we can talk about, and that is that Taoism and Hinduism and Western Buddhism seems to have lost the Four Noble Truths. They'll take bits and pieces, but they don't have that overall organization or the overall teaching that the Buddha in the Pali language has as um, dukkha dukkha nirodha that we can easily translate into English of don't worry, be happy. That's the whole thing. But you see, going from don't worry and be happy is a change from worry. And so you can say then that the missing part that's missing in all the places is the right noble effort to make a change from the unwholesome mind state that most people are in into a wholesome mind state, changing our attitude from being a loser into being a winner. Now, the next point on that is that once we do that, once we make that change, one time, the first time that we do it, we get that basic attitude of, wow, what a relief it is. The problem is that we don't remember that. But if you can remember to do it over and over again, you begin to make it part of your life. And that becomes then the motivation to continue to practice is success. You've got it. You do feel satisfied. This does work. And then that sets the people on the right path. And that right path then take us into that feeling of interested and excited. We're enthusiastic that we want to keep with the Dhamma because we know that the Dhamma works. That going to the store doesn't work. Going to church doesn't work. Going to the opera doesn't work. Going to the brothel doesn't work. But going to the Dhamma does work. Going to the psychologist doesn't work. Going to the shrink doesn't work. But changing one's own mind and changing one's own attitude into become happy, that works. Islam doesn't work because the people who are in Islam stay unhappy and dissatisfied, thinking, oh, if we could only get a caliphate, then everybody would be happy. And yet we've had caliphates on the planet Earth, and the people weren't happy.
I think the interesting thing about, let's say, Islam, for example, that's a good one, is some of them really does find that way, but the interesting thing is they don't know how they find it. Like they kind of simplify it as because I feel connected with Allah or whatever. Like it's almost like they mindlessly struck a key, and only a few of them does. But I feel like because Buddhism, they explain it so well, you kind of know, wow, I understand how I got this liberation. But like I think other religion, they just mindlessly strike a key and they don't know how, and then they just say, oh, because I pray 5 times a day.
I
Yeah.
got
That's
that part
exactly right. You say even in Christianity, they say take Jesus as your savior, and they will do that intellectually. They'll even beat you up over it,
right.
telling you how wonderful Jesus is. But the point that they miss is that they made a change. They had a change happen. And that because they've got Jesus, now they feel like that they're a winner. But they miss out on the fact that it was them that changed, not Jesus. Jesus didn't do it to them. They did it. They made a change.
I
And
feel like
that's
the
what the
closest
Buddha is teaching.
I feel like the closest Christian that got it, my personal bias opinion, is like the Christian mystic. Like I read some of them that they have this, they kind of know, I'm not sure if they really know, but it's like the awareness itself is God. And like it's just, I read a very interesting one, a quote that I keep thinking about sometimes. This Christian mystic named, I think it was Thomas, maybe. He said like I abandon all form of technique of prayer. My only prayer is awareness or something like that. And some of them really got it. Like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's yeah, good stuff.
Yes, that's right. That in fact, what you're pointing to is something that the Buddha said. That he said that he did not invent the Four Noble Truths, he discovered it, that it was an old path, and he just rediscovered it. Now, what that means is that he's giving permission for us, little followers of the Buddha, to recognize that over the centuries, many other people have discovered that path all on their own. A few Christian mystics have done that. We could even go so far, and I've had conversations actually with Bhikkhu Buddhadasa over Jesus himself, in the sense that I was trying to point out to Bhikkhu Buddhadasa that Buddhism had made it to the Mediterranean by that time, okay, especially by 300 BC because of the Greek influence with Alexander and all of that. And that there's good evidence that the teachings of the Buddha got into Europe, possibly even earlier than that. But Bhikkhu Buddhadasa kept pointing out to me that Jesus did not need to have Buddhism taught to him. He could have had other wise teachers, just like Socrates and the teachers that he had, like Herodotus. You know, Herodotus was the Greek philosopher who said you cannot step into the same river twice. You cannot step into the same river twice, okay? Why is that? because when you take your foot out of the river and put it back in, you put it into different water. The water that your foot was in before is gone. In other words, Herodotus on his own, who predated the Buddha, recognized that teaching of Anicca. Things are constantly in flux, they're constantly changing. Okay? So we can, in fact, another example would be Eckhart Tolle. Now, the story about him was that he was so depressed and so miserable that he kind of gave up and sat on a park bench in a park in London, looking out over the Thames. And he stayed there for about 2 years. And while doing that, he kind of chilled out. He got over all of his problems. He got over all of his worries. But when he came to the realization that everything is okay, not a problem in the world, he could not teach that to anyone because he had no reference until he started reading Buddhism. And that's when he figured out that what the Buddha was teaching, he had discovered that on his own. What makes the Buddha so marvelous is that he packaged it, put it into a simple teaching. The simple teaching is the Four Noble Truths, including the Eightfold Noble Path of you've got to make that change on your own. That the cause of dukkha is what you're doing in your own mind, and you change that you literally come to the point of don't worry, be happy. Even who was it, by the way, that did the song "Don't Worry, Be Happy"? You know who did that originally?
I
I've
remember his
heard.
name. Let's know.
Bobby McFerrin.
Yeah, I've forgotten. Huh?
Can
So
you say
Bob
his name
Marley
again?
was
Bobby
attributed to the
McFerrin.
song, but
That's who it was.
Bobby McFerrin, right? I
Yeah.
think Bobby McFerrin wrote the song. Okay, so what we can say then is that Bobby McFerrin discovered the path also on his own. He could not have written the song "Don't Worry, Be Happy" if he hadn't discovered that secret of the Buddha. You've got to change your own mind. So that teaching is universal. It's an old path. The Buddha just discovered it on his own. But the other side of it is look how few people in history actually do discover that path. We can almost name them on our toes and fingers because it's so rare that people figure out that they can change their own mind. And that the Buddha was the one who came up with a unique package for being able to transport that from one person to another.
Dhammarato,
Does that
I have a
help
question
you,
about Ajahn Chah.
Ivan? Go ahead.
Oh, I have a question about Ajahn Chah. So I read something. I think this is really beautiful because that's my experience. He said, you know, like along this practice, right, the peace from concentration is one thing, but the what leads to liberation is that from discernment, because like concentration is you're still only taking pleasure from peace, but from discernment it's like you're using the concentration, and then you're not afraid to look at whatever is disturbing, and then you kind of, because you're looking and then you see through that illusion, you kind of become free, because concentration alone doesn't help. It's like when you're looking, you're discerning, oh, this is not good for me, and then you just drop it. You just drop it immediately. So I guess my
let's
because
discuss that just a minute.
okay, sure.
Go ahead. But let me say this one thing. We have to understand that the word concentration, there are two different definitions. The common word meaning of concentration is that we throw things out, we separate things out, and we get down to just the right thing, the essence, the most important thing. This is the same as the Western Buddhists taking an object of meditation. All right. But there's a different definition of the word concentration, and that is bringing things together. An example of that would be making the cake that you go to the refrigerator and you get milk out, you get eggs out, you get sugar out, you get the flour out, and you put them in a bowl and concentrate them together, bringing things together. And that's what the Buddha means by the word samadhi, but it's been translated as the word concentration, giving Western Buddhism the wrong idea about what we mean by concentration. Much better use of the word. And by the way, Achan Cha knows this. He knows the right definition, but he also spoke Thai. So when you're using the word concentration, that means that you're listening to some Westerner translate Thai into English and make that mistake all over again. That the correct way of translating the word samadhi would be right unification of mind, to bring things together, bring your awareness, bring your remembrance, bring your mindfulness, bring all of that stuff together into a unified package. Bring your gladdening the mind in there. Another way of saying it is bring the parent, the adult, and the child into a unified package rather than having the parent and the child always in conflict with one another, where the parent was the adult, there's no adult in that mind's room. So if we can remember that Achan Cha is teaching not concentration, but right unification of mind, so that we literally have the English phrase, get your shit together. I remember that a long time ago that some people would say, hey, I've got so much shit that when I get it together, I can't move the pile.
Yeah.
But this is literally what it means is get your shit together, get it into a unified package. Well, Ben, this is amazing. Wow, we've got so many guys. This is an impromptu
Hi,
talk.
Ben.
Hey, bro.
Yeah. So yeah. Again, Dhammarato.
Alistair.
Uh. So yeah. So it's like what Ajahn Chah was saying is like the discerning is important, and if I were to phrase it, like if you taken what you said, Dhammarato, don't worry, be happy. I might add like, don't worry, look at what's happening and be happy. Like that discerning part is like, yeah.
Well, you could also say it in the sense of remember to look at that you're being worried and never mind, change that and just be happy. But that's a more, let us say, expanded way of saying it. And that the song, Don't Worry, Be Happy, does a beautiful amalgamation, putting it in just the 4 words, the entire teaching of the Buddha down to 4 words. Don't worry, be happy.
Yeah.
If you're really happy, if you're really satisfied, who needs to be enlightened? But if you really are happy and really are satisfied, what other kind of enlightenment could there possibly be? That's being lightened up, enlightened, being lightened up. Don't worry, be happy. So that's also a way of looking at unification, because when we're worried, we're traveling all over the inside of the mind. That worry, in fact, well, what about this and what about that? And you can see that that creates duality. And so the unification of the mind, then, bringing things together, And now we're at peace. No place to go and nothing to do. So I'm in complete agreement with Ajahn Chah that for those who haven't heard this story, I met Ajahn Chah personally. Guess where? Where does anybody think that I met Ajahn Chah?
Suan Mok.
Suan Mok, exactly. He was there to see his teacher, Bhikkhu Buddhadasa. And he brought Sumedho. That's where I met Sumedho at that same visit. For Ajahn Chah and his student Sumedho. And I met them both at Wat Suan Mok. So that kind of proves right then and there that connection that you find in Thailand amongst the senior Thai monks is that they're all good buddies with one another. And that's what we're trying to do here on the internet is let's be friends. Let's, share the Dhamma. Then who knows, several of you might in fact become world famous 100 years from now. And nobody knows that you met on Discord.
Like my experience has been kind of like I think it's interesting. Like sometimes I feel like I have like bad habits, like, and I see that happening. I wasn't trying to make myself like a victim. I was just looking at what's happening. Like I'm overeating, I'm overeating, and like I don't know how to say it, but it's like I don't know. I find this very weird freedom once I finish that thing, and then I was like, oh, that's interesting. That just happened, and I don't go to ruminate over it. I was just like, this is how it feels like, and I don't know, like I start to feel that very weird non-clinging. Like the next day, I becoming less. Like there's no much interest to like, oh, I don't have to do that anymore. Like I think that's what Ajahn Chah called by the sermon. It's like maybe yeah, I don't know. I was just like, okay, this is happening. Yeah, I don't know. I was just reflecting on
Yeah,
that.
that's a good way of saying it. I don't have to do that anymore. Remember, I don't have to be messy anymore. You also use the phrase that I like very much. Did anybody else hear this when he said over easy? Remember that there's several ways to do eggs. We can do sunny side up. We can do over easy. But it looks like most people are using their eggs to scramble. They're all scrambled up. And then we have a choice about how we're going to have our egg. Are we going to have it sunny side up? Are we going to have it over easy? Or are we going to have scrambled? So thank you for that joke. I appreciate it. I'll use the material from anywhere.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that makes so much sense. I just have this very weird excitement sometimes. Like I was just showering yesterday, and I had this very sudden thought of like, wow, I've been practicing for a year. I've been seeing this joy, and I still have problems and stuff, but that's okay. But then I was like, well, if it took me a year to undo so many of this shit, imagine 5 years from now, and I suddenly feel excited, and I don't know, it's like this. Uh, yeah, I don't know. It's just this very joyful, looking forward how it goes.
That's a very, very excellent attitude. Is to recognize that wow, things are so great right now, but they're going to get even better. Everything is just so great right now, but it's going to stay that way. It's going to get even better. And that whole quality of wow, I don't have to do that anymore. That really helps. That whole idea of, wow, I don't have to mess with that stuff anymore. I don't have to mess with Dhammara. And it gets better. As we continue to practice, the skills get better. Satisfaction is satisfaction. When somebody says, oh, I've got satisfaction, but I want more, that's not satisfaction. But when you really are satisfied with what you have right now, guess what? That satisfaction grows. It gets deep. It gets, wow, this is so satisfying. Wow, this is good enough. This is it. And that whole quality begins to grow. All things just going to stay all of this. Well, I'm going to remember to continue to practice the Buddha's teaching because it's so good. It's so valuable. And so, congratulations for having that thought. Wow, things are really going to get better 5 years from now. It's great now. It's going to get better. This is also what the Buddha talks about in the sense of being immersed in the Dhamma, becoming eager for the Dhamma, becoming delighted in the Dhamma. That there's nothing better than the Dhamma. In fact, there's nothing else but the Dhamma. And what makes it so good, so special, is the fact that it's actually empty.
Yes. I was
There's
like
nothing
able
there's
to,
nothing there.
I was able to discern that this sort of satisfaction that comes from looking forward compared to my old conditioning, like the old way of looking forward is because I have a specific idea how my future would look like. And this one is very, like you said, kind of empty in its essence, because it's like I don't know how it will be, and I don't want to know, like, because it brings me a lot of suffering back then if I want it to be specific way. And this one is like, it's like the looking forward of letting shit go, you know. It is looking forward of like, it's not out to me. I don't really care. I just this moment is just good enough, and it's just like it just frees out a lot of this unnecessary, useless effort of I don't know how you call it, worrying. But yeah, it's just so freeing. It's just more light. Yeah, just very light. Like,
We've talked about that recently. Ivan, you and I have talked about that a lot. We've talked about the Dhamma being this wholesome thought. That's it. That's all we need. This one right now.
Well, I'm really pleased to see so many join this spontaneous call. That Ivan wanted to talk, and so did Alex, and so we brought it over to the hangout. I think that's possibly a good idea. These kinds of things are impromptu talks are really excellent. Looks like we got 7 people on this call right now. I don't even know who's who.
OMC.
Ben, I know you.
Yep, I saw that.
I know
People were on.
Santiago.
We've got my friend Baba. Baba came over. Alistair. Yeah. Good people.
Kapalika, huh? Good to meet you.
Good to meet you. How you doing?
I'll let you decide that for yourself. Your idea of me is more important to you than my idea of me, anyway.
And you know Alistair. I think you've
That
met Alistair
reminds me,
before.
but go ahead, Alex. I didn't hear you.
Oh, I said you know Alistair. I think you've met Alistair before. Alistair's
Yeah,
gonna,
we've talked a couple times.
yeah, he's gonna go be a bhikkhu here soon.
Yeah, in June.
June. That's coming up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty soon.
Where are you going?
Just an American
You have a
place
what picked
that I
out?
live close to. It's a Burmese place.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Where is that located?
Oh, it's in Minnesota in
Okay.
the US. Yeah.
I have not been to very many Burmese Wats in the States, but I do know that there's a few. The reason that there's so
Yeah.
few Burmese Wats is easy to understand. Number one, there's very few Burmese people in the United States. And the second one is that there's not very many monks because religious visas are hard to get from Burma. The
Hmm.
Thai visas are easy to get. That in fact it's possible that it's a Burmese watch set up by Burmese lay people, but the monks, one of them at least, would be Thai. How many monks are there?
Uh, 4. Sometimes there's like an extra one that stays, but there's like 4 that are there year round. So it's not too big.
When I, when I was in America as a monk, I did a lot of travel. I was with a group of monks, Laotian monks, who were kind of ambassadors for all of the Lao community. And so I've been to about 50 different Lao Wats, as well as I know quite a number of Thai Wats. But I also know that there's not very many Burmese Wats, so you're very lucky.
Yeah.
Congratulations, by the way.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
The right way to do it, by the way, is not talk about them and ask a lot of questions. The best thing to do is just to move in,
Yeah.
start sleeping in their meditation hall or whatever.
Yep.
It's not the walk, it's not the talk, it's the walk anyway. So if you just show
Yeah.
up and hang out and stay there, you'll make good friends. If you
Hmm.
go ask them a lot of questions, that's going to be slow.
Yeah. That's true.
And I really suggest that any of you do that. Just find some watch close by. Doesn't matter whether it's Thai, Sri Lanka, Burmese, Lao, Cambodian, or Vietnam. All of those are really good places to go. Tibetan, I'm not sure because many of the Tibetan and the Zen places often are just Westerners. That there's no real Asians there. But if you can find
Hmm.
like a Burmese watch that's got Burmese monks, sit down and don't move for a month or two. Just park yourself.
Yeah.
Move in on them. Or as we talk about it in Discord language, just hang out. So, how do you say your name? I see
Al.
Al.
Al. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So tell me your name so I can hear it.
Alistair, but you can just call me Al.
Okay, Al.
Yeah,
All right.
that works.
Nice to meet you, Al.
Yeah, I've talked to you a couple times on Skype, but I've stopped coming to the Dhamma calls so frequently. But yeah,
You came to this one.
yep. I'm here now. That's all that matters.
Says it's on Discord. That's why. Discord's where all the young people hang out at.
Yeah, I never would have found this on Skype, bro. I only found this because of Alex. Like, I only found this server because Alex and Alistair as well. So
I would say Discord has some weird people here. Me and Alex know this very well. But we just laugh at them. Like, that's the nature of the world.
Yeah,
All
and
right.
they're
Well,
like a
it's
new
really nice to meet
practice.
you, Al.
Oh, what was that?
Kapalika, how do I know you? What have you been up to? Tell me about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm basically a Hindu mostly, but I'm very much into Buddhism as well. I like pretty much any school of Buddhism, Theravadan, Mahayana, Vajrayana. So
It's all the same. It is liberating.
exactly.
Well, I'm glad to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Thanks for joining the call. So, Ivan, let's finish this up now. You guys can, in fact, stay on the call if you like. Um, what do you think, Alex? Did you get this recorded?
Yes, I did. Yeah. I think it's still going. Let me check. Yep,
All right. So
successful
check with.
OBS testing.
All right. So what we need to do then is to get this to Mikey. He has actually a Google Drive site that he wants you to upload these videos to.
Okay. I can do that. That's no problem.
And so if you can't find that link, ask him for it again. He's got a
Okay.
link for Google Drive folder
I will get in touch with him about it.
to
I'm going to
upload.
stop the recording now. I just want to say thanks everybody for coming through and hanging out and having a good time talking. We'll do this more and more often as we move over from Skype to here, and I'm really looking forward to seeing things grow and develop and change. So thank you everybody, and thank you Dhammarato. I'm going to click the record
Yes,
off.
thanks, Alex.
Thank you. Thank you,
So
Alex.